society, it's just so normal to have your head down, head down scrolling all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the way that we're scrolling really matters in our life and makes a difference. What are you seeing? There are some things you can never unsee. So you have to realize I do have a choice about how I'm using my device to make me healthier and happier.
Welcome back to Happiness in Progress. I'm your host, Danielle Craig. I'm an Emmy Award winner, former journalist, mom, wife, and just a person looking for more joy in the everyday. And that's what this podcast is all about, finding more joy in your life through things like adding perspective, bringing in gratitude, bringing in peace, and really finding the best version of you. This podcast is brought to you by the Mail Tribune. The Mail Tribune has several podcasts, and you can find them all at mailtribune.com. Today, you're hearing from Dr. Lori Whatley. She is a clinical psychologist who specializes in the effects of excessive digital device usage. How many of us are there? 10 years ago, she noticed her patients were dealing with several problems with the same culprit, addiction to their devices. And those problems were in everything from their sleep to their relationships. She is the author of Connected and Engaged: How to Manage Digital Distractions and Reconnect with the World Around You. She takes a look at the role excessive digital device usage has on our lives and what we can do about it. And that's really what we talk about in this episode. You're going to learn how your device is impacting you. Like I said, your sleep, your anxiety levels, your relationships, and what you can do about it. What a digital detox looks like in the 21st century, and how to make your devices work for you instead of against you. Let's get to it. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to talk to you today. I would like to start with where you were, what was going on when you realized that our digital devices are a real problem. What was that aha moment in your practice?
That is a great question. And I was getting my my doctorate, and in my practice, everyone that came in, it seemed that they all mentioned digital devices as part of their problem. Maybe their high school senior was not sleeping well. His grades were not great. And then we tracked it to he wasn't sleeping. And then we tracked it to, oh, he's up all night online. And parents didn't realize it. Or maybe I was doing couples therapy and one member of the partnership was upset because the other was always on their phone. Maybe if they were on a date, they were scrolling or texting or it just kept coming up, and I thought, I'm really going to need to dive in and come up with solutions. This is a paradigm shift in a sense. And so the more I researched, the more interested I became when I realized this is vital information for our world. We need to understand how distracted we are by our digital devices and what it's doing to our relationships and our productivity and our creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will tell you, I love technology. It's how I do my job.
We're using technology right now.
Yes, and it's fabulous. It allows us to do things that we would not be able to do otherwise.
What amazes me about this aha moment you had was that this was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we were dealing with this, but it has evolved a lot, even when I think about my own personal use 10 years ago. Can you tell me about what you've seen in the evolution of how we're using our devices in the last 10 years?
I know that the statistics for during the pandemic was 87% more.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we were using our devices 87% more, and we were already using them a great deal. And I think you can probably realize personally how much you use them.
Mm-hmm.
Each of us can look at how often we're using our devices or in front of a screen of any sort. We've even become multitaskers with our screens. So I might be watching a movie on TV while also texting a friend while having my iPad sitting there planning my day for tomorrow. And this causes a sense of chaos in our mind and keeps us on high alert and anxious.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety is the number one reason that people come to see therapist, and it's always mentioned, it seems,
Mhm.
in the conversation. And we know from research that anxiety, um, due to too much digital device usage, is adding to our stressors.
I want to come back to anxiety in just a minute, but first I want to go to how do people realize that they have a problem? I know you have an assessment online. I took a look at it. What is the first step in realizing, okay, I'm using my devices too much?
Right. Well, I love to do our own, as I said, our own personal research. And I started mine when I was getting my doctorate, as I was telling you. And I decided this is going to be, I was trying to decide what my dissertation would be. And I became so intrigued by all of this that I said, this is what I'm going to do my project on. And I'm going to begin researching with myself. So I left my phone one day when I went to the grocery store. I was only gone for an hour and I felt lost. I really felt naked. You know how you have those phantom vibrations, and it all happened to me. And I
Mhm.
realized I'm using this way too much.
So what would you have people ask themselves to determine how they're using it too much, when they're using it too much? What are some of those self questions you can ask?
Well, I think if we are not getting sleep, if we're not sleeping well, at night when we're sleeping is when our brain heals from the anxiety of the day, and
Mm.
we have to look to see what is contributing to that anxiety, and if it is um, if it is our devices, then we can look and say, okay, well, how often am I on it? I'm on a laptop all day working, and then I put it down and I watch television, and then I do my schedule before I go to bed on a device. All of that screen time, it affects our sleep habits. So that is one way that we can really look. Our anxiety level. Are we feeling stretched? Are we feeling kind of chaotic, like I'm running here, running there? Because it kind of contributes to that feeling,
Mhm.
in a sense. You know what it's like, if you think about the constant pings that we get when we have our device on us, and we are it's kind of like having a child walking around behind you pulling on your shirt tail all day long, really.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there's someone tapping you on the shoulder constantly when you're trying to do something. That's what it feels like to have the constant notification interruptions all day long.
I saw a study on this and saw how it actually is impacting our real brain. Like it's really impacting our brain when we hear the notification. So I just turned my phone off and I miss all kind of texts all day long. But when I'm ready, I go and I grab my phone and I respond to all of the texts. And that has made a
So
huge
smart.
difference. Huge
Yes,
difference.
that is so smart. We have to realize that we get to choose how we use our device. And if we choose to use it in a way that works for us, then our stress level drops. Um, and yes, we can choose, okay, this morning from 9 to 10, I'm going to check all of my emails. And I'm not going to stop what I'm doing every time I get an email notification, because it takes 25 minutes for us to refocus. And that's another answer to your earlier question. That's another way that we know that we're using our devices too much, if our focus is not really good.
Because we have got so much we're looking at. I can't believe 25 minutes just to check an email and get refocused.
Yes,
Unreal.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Unreal. So you've talked about a lot of different issues that come up with our obsessive device usage, the relationship issues, sleep disorders, anxiety, stress, and now we're talking about wasting time looking at emails. So we can even start looking at how this impacts the workplace. Of all of those issues, what seems to come up the most?
I think a lot of people are not sleeping well, and we can track, and that's why I mentioned that, because sleep is essential for us and we don't realize how important, and we can track it back to maybe too much screen time, like right before bed. I say no screens for 2 hours. Some
Mm.
experts say 1 hour. So 1 to 2 hours before bed, no screen time. It's essential that we turn that off, because the blue light interrupts our sleep. And when we solve the sleep problem, we often improve the anxiety problem.
Wow. Okay. So when you have someone come in, they're talking about this, they're having an issue sleeping, and you just give them this First step, just to not use the device an hour before bed. What is the difference that you see in them?
I think they come back to me almost always and say, wow, Dr. Lori, I've seen a big difference and thank you
Wow.
so much. And as a culture, as a society, it's just so normal to have your head down, head down scrolling all the time.
Hmm.
And right now, the way that we're scrolling really matters in our life and makes a difference. What are you seeing? There are some things you can never unsee. And if you're constantly being exposed to darkness or negativity just from your scrolling, and you
Yes.
don't, is that something that you would choose to have in your mind all day long if you had a choice? So you have to realize I do have a choice about how I'm using my device to make me healthier and happier.
Yeah. So let's go to anxiety. What is the science behind how our dependence on our digital devices is impacting our anxiety?
Well, I think that's another very good question. I think part of it is the sleep issue, right? Because our brains are very plastic and they return to a calm state at night when we're
Mm.
sleeping. But if we have too much blue light or we're not making as much of the sleep hormone melatonin, which is natural for us. So all of that changes from too much screens. And that can bring chemical changes through the body. And you become anxious, you make more adrenaline, more cortisol, right? And
Mhm.
so that's where the anxiety piece comes in scientifically.
I also notice even just the scroll you were talking about, I feel those elevated levels of anxiety when I can't solve everyone's problem on my feed and I can see how dark and negative and scary the world is. That's
Yes.
hard.
And really you imagine how it's programming us, you know? And that was my post today on Instagram, was how we're scrolling really matters. And we've all, it's been a perfect storm, right? We've had the pandemic, and then we've had the other problems that have come about in the US lately. And so we've had like two very traumatic experiences, one right after the other. And all of that trauma is being displayed online.
Mhm.
And it is very unfortunate trauma that we are all very sensitive to, and I'm very empathetic to all of it. But the constant barrage of it onto our system is rewounding us over and over and re-traumatizing us over and over. And can I help my brother if I am less reactive and am able to approach situations with more of a calm?
Mm-hmm. You've talked a lot about choosing the way we are using our digital devices. What are the choices that we make our devices work for us instead of against us?
Well, one choice is, there's tons of ways that you can set your phone so that it tells you how much time you're spending on social media, how much, and you decide, I only want to spend 30 minutes. I only want to give 30 minutes of my day to social media. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. So that's one way to be intentional and mindful about knowing that. Um, Emails. When I go into businesses to work with small businesses to help improve production, due to too much social media, we lose over $90 billion a year on our
It's
social media.
crazy. Oh,
Yeah. And so when I go into small businesses to help them with that, one of the things that I teach is, hey, are you on your email all day? Check it from 9 to 10. Retrain the people that email you. They will know that you're going to respond to them in the morning and you're going to respond to them again in the evening. And you can have a notification that comes on in between that says, hey, I am, you know, intentionally only checking my email at 9 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon, and I'll get back to you during one of those time frames.
hmm
And people learn that about you, and they begin to say, oh, well, I understand that she's not going to talk to me in the middle of the day. And so whatever you're doing in the middle of the day, you can give all of your attention to and be more productive and more creative.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So tell me, I saw on your website a challenge. to do a 30-day digital detox. Tell me about what that looks like in the 21st century.
Well, I think we have to be mindful that, a complete detox is not realistic, right?
Okay, that was my big question, because I'm like, well, I'm using my phone right now. I'm gonna get on my computer.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like when we detox from unhealthy food. I mean, obviously we don't starve. We don't just stop intake of. So what we do is we do a detox. Maybe we'll decide I've been doing 4 hours on social media a day. So I'm going to cut that to 30 minutes. And we know that completely stopping something, as humans, that's not the way that we make positive change. We make positive change in small steps. So a 30-day digital detox would be becoming mindful of the ways that you're using it and putting limitations. And the first week you might say, I'm limiting my social media. The next week you might add, I'm limiting my television intake. And, they need to be individual choices based on what's realistic that you could actually do, because what I can do and what you can do would be completely different.
Yeah. Okay. And I love that you compared it to eating. When we're eating healthy, we're not just going to starve and stop eating food.
Right.
That's a great comparison. Tell me a little bit about the relationship, how our digital devices impact relationships, and what couples, maybe if someone's listening, are thinking like, I feel so far away from my partner, or I feel so far away from my children. What is a first step that they can take?
Oh, I think the first step is noticing. And, I always tell people when they come to my office and they feel so down because, they're like, how did I get to this place? And I'm like, the good news is you're here. You have realized that there's a problem. And so you're on your way to recovery because you came to address the problem. So when we realize, hey, I am on my phone too much in the presence of my children, then we can be mindful and we can put our phones up. I love carpool time for moms.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. That is when you have your kids' undivided attention. You pick them up at school. Don't be on your phone. Put your phone away. Talk to them. Don't turn on the TVs on the backs of the seats for them to engage, or don't hand them their iPads or whatnot. You just spend that time. Hey, how did you do in school today? Tell me what did you do at playtime? What was your favorite activity today at school? How did you interact with Mary or Tom or whatnot? Just ask them questions and be interested. And that is a great way to cut back. Another time is, we know from research that mealtime, children who have one meal a day with family are more well adjusted.
Wow.
And so mealtime, no tech. We need that more than ever in our country right now. Connection. And so putting our devices away and being interested in each other is just a fabulous way to build that family connection and bring stability.
Yeah. Yeah. Huge. I wanted to ask about maybe the biggest transformation you've seen in a person once they made the realization, started choosing how they were going to use their devices and being intentional about it. What has been a big transformation that you've seen in someone?
The thing that I notice most is the peace that people find in their lives. And some people who are searching, they go to the wrong places to find their answers. And the places they go intensifies their anxiety or their sleeplessness or their feelings of well-being sometimes. The places they're going to look for their answer is not the solution. We have to be very careful to not, rewound ourselves looking for a solution. You can't go to what broke you to look for the answer. So I noticed that when people are able to have less device distractions, that they're much calmer, much more peaceful, and they all tell me more productive, and they believe that part of this is because of this better sleep routine.
As I listen to this, I there have been times where I've been better with my phone. There have times that I've been worse, and I am hoping that the people listening can take home some tangible tips to start today? I think we've already talked about a lot. If there was one thing that everyone did today, what would you suggest that be?
I would say have a day every week that you put your phone away.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday I put my phone away, and it was a tough week for the world.
Yeah.
And when I began to feel it, I put my devices away for a little while, and I go for a walk. I get some sunshine. I change what I'm doing when I know that what I'm doing is not working. I have never spoken with anyone who has told me that they did not feel better when they put their phone away for the day. And it may be too scary for the day, so you may have to start with a half a day, and I completely understand that. But we must remember that our devices are there for our convenience.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to choose how we use them so that it's a way that is convenient and makes our lives better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I love that you mentioned you don't know anyone who puts their phone away and feels worse because it really brings that peace. That's
It
amazing.
does not. I will say this. At first, my clients tell me, "Oh, Dr. Lori, I felt worse for about an hour or two."
Mm-hmm.
But then they said that the next day I realized how much I felt kind of like recharged.
Mm-hmm.
I felt better overall when I put it away. So when you put it away and you at first notice how edgy you feel, that is a sign that you need to leave it away.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If that's not a sign of addiction, I don't know what is.
That's a detox. Yeah, definitely a withdrawal.
Well, thank you so much for being here. The last question I want to ask you, I ask all my guests, and this podcast is all about finding more joy in the everyday. So I want to ask you, what is your number one tip to finding that everyday joy?
Thank you for asking me that, because I think right now in our world, we are all really looking for a little more peace and joy. And I think it's something that we can all have. And I honestly will say that the way that I get my joy is by putting my devices down, going for a walk, completely releasing myself from all of the distractions online, and any negativity. Will I'm very good about blocking, defriending, or it if it will bring stability into my life, and
Mm-hmm.
making the choice that I get to decide what is coming into my life, even in my everyday interactions. With people, I get to decide, is this working for me? Is this
Yeah.
making my life more peaceful? And always wishing the best for everyone, but not necessarily subjecting myself to everyone and everything that is
Mm-hmm.
a trigger for me.
Mm-hmm. Great advice. As you were talking, I was thinking, I think a lot of times we're looking for the joy in our device. Sometimes I'll just go to email, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, like looking for the new thing, but I already checked all three of them. What am I looking for? And I think sometimes we're
Right.
just looking in the wrong place.
Well, I found that out by doing the same thing. So I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you, I found out that my joy was not there by realizing that and going for a walk, listening to the birds sing, feeling the sunshine on my face. And our bodies are meant for movement. So moving my body.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was an honor to get to be here and talk to you and share with you.
I so appreciated having Dr. Whatley on the podcast. I loved the tips that she has. And I hope that you are able to bring some of these tangible tips into your life and have those devices not as something that's taking away from you, but something that's adding to your life. And of course, I have linked everything, including her book, Connected and Engaged. You can find all of that in show notes. And I want to thank you for being here on Happiness in Progress.